This is the history of the Irish in Kansas City, brought to you by the Irish Roots Cafe, part of our series on the Irish in America from www.irishroots.com.
When I was a little girl, I had very red hair, and what I like to call spirit to go with it. If I have a relation who remembers Paddy and Bridie O'Mally, he was known in Limerick as Red Paddy.
But most of the pubs now are even busier than they were before, having the cigarettes gone. Of course, in 5 years, it's actually changed quite dramatically, like you mentioned the traffic jam.
I'm Michael Laughlin, your host. You can reach me with your comments by emailing mike@irishroots.com or by mailing to Box 7575, Kansas City, Missouri, 64116, the old-fashioned way. Phone in your comments to me at 816-256-3360. Please do call in and leave your message. We always look for comments, and you might be able to help us out with a little audio message of your own, letting people know what some of the history in Kansas City is, and for that matter in the Midwest as we expand our episodes. We've gathered together a group of scholars, authors, and everyday Irish to paint you the picture of the history of the Irish in Kansas City. The story of the Irish in America. The history of the Irish in Missouri, number 18. From the Irish Roots Cafe Broadcast Network. Today we talk with Mauve O'Mally at Browne's Irish Festival and with Mr. Jordan in the Irish Roots Cafe. That's our first double interview day, I think, so it's a real treat. This is episode number 18, When Kansas City Met O'Mally and Jordan, Comparing Ireland and America. Be sure to visit my web pages at www.irishroots.com. That's where all our podcasts and books are found, and you can call me with a message of any sort at 816-256-3360. And remember to check all the show notes on our blog for this episode while you're there. I have some links that are included there. You can just click on and go to more information and all kinds of other fun stuff from time to time. Well, today's conversations are about Ireland and America and America and Ireland. We've got two of them, like I said, one with a Kansas man who married a beautiful Irish girl, and now he lives in Ireland. I wonder how that went. Well, stay tuned, because we're going to find out. And we'll also talk with Mauve O'Mally from Ireland as she visits, and she gives us her impressions. And she tells us about her old Irish family roots with connections in Missouri. And she's looking for O'Malley's right here, so stay tuned. If you've got any O'Malley blood, you might be hearing a relative in search of your family. Among today's topics are, what happens when you marry a girl from Ireland? Mauve O'Mally comes to Browne's. Irish food impressions. Ireland and America compared today. Cork Genealogist is the webpage of the week. And have you ever heard of the Dogtown Parade? Hey, and before we get going with the whole show, folks, remember, don't forget to listen to all three of my podcast series. The first one is the Missouri Irish that you're looking to right now. It's really the Irish in America, and we're just finishing up on the Missouri Irish segment. If you've got a segment you'd like to put in there from your part of the world, call us up. I'll be sure to start on your town or city or state. And our second broadcast series is the Irish Families Worldwide, and that alternates with the Irish in America series. And our new series is the Irish Song and Recitation broadcast, which I've got recorded. I just got to mix it up and get it up online, so that'll be happening in a couple of weeks. I hope you show up for all three of them. Don't miss a one. And my goal is to have at least one of them play each week, so stay tuned in there. The main family names mentioned this week are O'Mally of Limerick, Buckley of County Kerry, and Jordan of Kansas. The website of the week is the Cork Genealogist, and I've got the link for that on my webpage. That's of interest to anybody tracing their family tree in Ireland. She's got some real good information, and particularly if you're looking at County Cork, and there's a lot of Corkers out there. We interviewed the author of this blog, Margaret O'Shea Jordan, on our Irish Families Worldwide podcast a couple of months back. That was sure a good one, and today we're going to hear from Mr. Jordan, the other half of that story. And the second web page of interest this week, we're going to make the Buckley family of County Kerry in St. Louis. And that includes O'Fallon, Illinois. But there's a Dogtown connection on St. Patrick's Day. You'll want to watch this 8-minute video. And that's on YouTube. I've got the link on the show notes. Buckley's in Dogtown. Hey, now it's just about time for today's conversations. One with the O'Malley from Ireland and Missouri, the other with Jordan from Kansas living in Ireland. Let's take a look at the differences now, shall we? Yeah, and why's that? That's because every day is a holiday at the Irish Roots Cafe. First, let's talk with Mauve. She's in charge of helping folks out with bringing Irish goods into all the Irish shops in America. I talked with Mauve at Browne's Anniversaries Irish Fest. Let's listen in and hear what she has to say.
I grew up in Limerick.
Yeah?
And then I lived in Dublin for a number of years. Now I live in Long Island, New York.
Long Island. And what brought you to Kansas City?
Well, I've known Browne's for probably 20 years. I work with Enterprise Ireland, which is the trade division of the Government of Ireland. And I've known Kerry for at least 20 years. So they have been wonderful supporters of everything Irish food and gift and crystal, all those products. And she invited me to come as her guest, and I didn't hesitate. I was right here. This is our way of saying thank you to Browne's for supporting Ireland over the years.
You're sure supporting the activity here and all the things going on. I was wondering, what have you done today to help out?
I just had the best time. When I was a little girl, I had very red hair, and what I like to call spirit to go with it. So I was one of the judges for the reddest hair, and I've just been a judge for the scones. So I had such a good time, and I'm full of food.
That can get you in trouble, can it?
Oh, it was delicious.
If you start interviewing looking for those scones, you can get in
I'm really
trouble.
Looking forward to the men in the kilts, though. That's coming up shortly.
That's right. If only I
and
had
I'm a judge for that, too.
If I had brought it with me, it had been great. It had been great. Limerick now. Limerick, that's just over there by Clare and Kerry.
That's right. Yeah.
People that have visited. When did you first come to the States?
Oh, do I have to tell the year, and then I'd have to tell you how old I am?
No, you can just say a lot of years ago.
A lot of years ago, when I was a little girl, or a young lady, I came over playing field hockey on the Irish team, and I stayed in Milwaukee for a number of months, and then we toured around different areas. Then I went back to Ireland, got married, had my children, and then came back to the States with my husband 25 years ago.
Now, this might sound like a funny question, but what Irish names would you have in your family line? Do you remember a bunch of others? Family names, like other than O'Malley?
Well, definitely O'Malley. My mother was a Lee, L-E-E, from Newport in County Tipperary. Yeah. Richardson would be another name than my grandmother. But mostly, there are a lot of O'Malleys, and we kind of stuck together like the Brownes here in Kansas City.
Of course, most of those O'Malleys are up Mayo way, aren't they?
Yeah, we're originally from Clare Island.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I've been up there. I saw Grace O'Malley's castle.
That's right.
And Grania.
Yeah, Granuaile. We're direct descendants of Granuaile. My sister is Grace O'Malley, and I'm Mauve, so we're true and true.
We'll not be crossing you then, because I can tell it'd be a big mistake.
I'll whip you into shape, that's for sure.
That's right. Now, the time you spent here in the States, you have other connections to Kansas City earlier, I guess.
Yes, we have. Of course, we went to see Peggy Sheehan and Molly and Katie. I've known them over the years too. They come to Ireland all the time and support all our manufacturers and our Irish industry. And then I went down to Lee's Summit to visit Chuck Denton, who's another lovely young gentleman who came to Ireland and now has opened a lovely Irish store down there.
Right.
So that's what I've been doing since I got here. And of course, today is a great day with Browne's, and what all they're trying to do and doing was very, very successfully.
Well, that's right. Well, after 120 years in the oldest Irish business in North America, that's quite a thing. It's surprising, too.
It is. I mean, I work with Enterprise Ireland, as I explained, which is the trade division of the Government of Ireland. And I have a plaque to present to Kerry shortly. It's just, we are so honoured to be associated with them in business.
Well, that's right. I think anybody would enjoy that. Now, is there a connection you might want to call out for
absolutely.
For family?
About 20 years ago, my parents, who lived in Limerick, Paddy and Bridie O'Mally, they came to visit me in New York. And the only side journey they did was to come to Kansas City to visit some O'Malley relative. And unfortunately, I didn't do my homework before I came to Kansas City, because I would love to resurrect that connection and see who my relations are here in Kansas City. So maybe through you, Mike, do you think they could, if they have a relation who remembers Paddy and Bridie O'Malley? He was known in Limerick as Red Paddy.
That's right. We'll put a call out for anybody hearing this podcast that knew Red Paddy from Limerick.
From Limerick.
From Limerick, and that these folks would be in Kansas City. That's what she's trying to find.
Yeah. And they were O'Malley's.
Yeah, they're O'Malley's, so get a hold of me. I know we've got several groups of O'Malley's here, so one of you is bound to connect or at least know the connection.
Yeah,
so.
I think it would be fun to just resurrect that connection.
That'd be great. Now, I know Ireland's seen a lot of changes in the last 20 years, 10 years, but taking a look at Irish Americans and Americans and Ireland, Irish in Ireland, what do you see the big differences? Of course, they're two separate countries with a common heritage, as an Irish American, but we're separate. How would you compare and contrast the two heritages?
Well, your heritage is, what I love today is to see something here like what's going on here today with the dancing, the singing, the music, the crafts, the cooking. And it's really up to my generation to keep this alive so that all the next generation coming along can learn from us. Unfortunately, or fortunately for Ireland, the economy has really, really soared. I mean, it's just wonderful. It's almost like we go over there and I find it so expensive going back to Ireland from living here. And a lot of the younger Irish who came out here have made their money here, and now they're going back. There are a lot of them going back to live in Ireland. The emigration is over for the moment, but of course it'll just come around again. That's how right. the pendulum goes.
Well, now Ireland has a lot of people coming there to work instead of leaving to work.
Now going into Ireland, you see people from all over Europe, from the EU countries, are all over Ireland. So it's kind of been a shock to the system of Ireland, who just had it all to ourselves for years and years. Now you walk down the street and are going to a hotel or a restaurant, and all the service industry are immigrants, all immigrants into Ireland.
That's right. That's a whole new experience.
Yes,
I know.
Yes.
Do you see any personality differences? I know there's a lot of things the same between American Irish and Irish Irish.
Well, what I really love is how all the politicians seem to find Irish roots. I mean, even Barack Obama, I think that is just the best ever, that he's got relations in Tumivara and County Tipperary.
Well, and Cassius Clay, Muhammad Ali, County Clare.
It's just amazing. But I guess everybody really wants to be Irish, and those who are very, very proud of every drop of Irish blood they have in their veins.
Well, that's right, and it's sort of a unique thing in America. Everybody celebrates, and everybody's got their own special heritage, but there seems to be something about the Irish where they include everybody in their celebration, and I don't know if that's on both sides of the ocean or not.
Yes, it does. In fact, people talk about the hospitality in Ireland when you go there and how hospitable everybody is. I can tell you, I have seen nothing like that hospitality that I see here. I've been to states like Tennessee and here in Missouri. I mean, the people are just so welcoming and so gentle and so gentlemanly and kind and ever giving. I don't see any difference between the hospitality here and the hospitality in Ireland.
Well, that's a good thing to keep. You're supposed to keep the best of stuff and get rid of the worst of stuff. And
there you go.
Sometimes you're not sure what you kept and what you threw away.
Mm-hmm.
But, any other final comments you want to make to the audience here today?
I just wanted to say how lucky you all are to have people like the Sheehans and the Brownes and the Chuck Dentons in this area. And please continue to support them. They are keeping our Irish companies in business. And like years ago, we would have products that were like shamrocks and shillelaghs. That has changed. We have the best quality and the best designs of products coming out of Ireland today. We're world class, so we can compete with any other country. So let's keep the flag flying at home.
That's right. And these shops do more than just move merchandise. They keep the culture alive at the same time. It's a blending of two of the best things you can do, and it's great for everybody's economy, that's for sure. And it keeps us with a mind towards history too, you know.
Absolutely.
Well, thanks a lot. I appreciate you stopping by today. And they're getting ready to play a jig back there, and there's going to be a jig contest, and you've been entered by someone.
Listen, at this stage, I probably even enter it myself at this stage. I'm having so much fun. It's just a wonderful, wonderful day.
Okay. Thank you very much, and we hope we see you again.
Thank you, Mike. It's amazing the huge number of Irish that are out here, though, isn't it, in the middle of the country?
Well, our thanks to Mauve there. That's pretty good. Let me see. Is Mauve the name and Mauve the color? No, Mauve's the name and Mauve's the color. Well, it's beyond me, but I'm doing my best here. Now, let's see. We're going to have an unscheduled talk with Mr. Jordan of Topeka, Kansas. And Mr. and Mrs. Jordan dropped by the cafe before returning to County Cork, Ireland, and I was lucky enough to grab them there. And I took the Mr. aside and asked him a few questions about how he found an Irish wife and about living in Ireland. Come take an inside look at an American who now lives in Ireland and see what it's like.
It's wonderful being in Ireland, but I obviously haven't picked up any accents. In fact, there are actually large numbers of Americans actually living there. There's a group, for instance, Americans in Cork group, that are actually some people that are attached with multinationals and whatnot in Cork.
Gosh, how many people would that be?
20 to 30 people.
Yeah.
And we've had gatherings. For instance, we had a Super Bowl party.
Right.
But of course, Super Bowl was off the shift, so it was way late in a pub.
Oh, that'd be terrible, wouldn't it?
Yeah. Oh, it was very tough to going.
Well, now, were you there when they outlawed smoking in the pub?
Oh yeah. It was wonderful for them to actually to ban it completely, but it's also quite humorous because there's what you'd call an Irish solution to an Irish problem.
Let's hear that.
It basically is they'll end up building these little tents or canopies or extensions to the pubs that have a slightly open window essentially, and the smokers are all gathering in.
Well, I heard that one place just bought an old broken down bus that wouldn't even move, hauled it in front of the pub and set it down, and people just walked out to the bus to smoke and come back in.
That's a good solution for that too.
I tell you,
a lot of people actually just put up just a canopy and these space heaters that stand alone to keep them warm, keep them out of the rain and keep them warm enough, and they've managed to adapt to it. But most of the pubs now are even busier than they were before, having the cigarettes gone. It actually brought in more business, more families.
Now there's a note to American stores; they might think about doing it on their own.
It's they complained and ranted and raved and saying they're going to put us out of business, and instead they're actually making more money now than they did before.
Boy, that sounds good. How long have you been living in Ireland?
We've been there for just a little over 5 years now.
Now, what adjustment might you had to make?
Well, it's a first thing, of course, in 5 years, it's actually changed quite dramatically. Like you mentioned, the traffic jams.
Right.
When I first got over there, the traffic was relatively light, and the roads were easy to get around in. But it's much slower. In Cork, it's a little more cliquish to get jobs. But I started out there by taking what I knew. I work in computer stuff, and Cork itself is not so much technological as it is in education. For instance, the University of UCC, which is the University College Cork, used to be Queen's College, I think, and it's a fabulous university, and it has a large infrastructure for high tech and biochemistry. They basically do a lot of work for the biomedical research. But I actually tutored in some computer programming language when I first got over there, and working in one section of the university was just like working at Hogwarts. The buildings were these ancient buildings with these ancient stones around it. It just felt like you were in Hogwarts because of the ancient size of the buildings. But
do you feel the history more there than you do here?
Oh, every day. Even the school that my wife taught at, St. Aloysius, right? They basically, it was formed. The school itself was formed before the United States was the United States.
Isn't that amazing?
It gives you a depth of the age of the place, and you can't walk down a street without bumping into a wall that's 300 years old or something.
Right.
So it gives you a really good feel. It's just stunning. My folks have actually been there a few times, and we took them to a burned-out abbey to the west of us called Kilts Abbey, and there are cemetery stones, for instance, that are older than the United States, and that surprised them. Here it was this entire civilization that, for instance, predates the United States. We are amazed, when a building's over 100 years old.
Well, actually, now they tear down a perfectly good building after 10 years because they have a new marketing plan, and it's like there's no respect for building.
Right. There's another. We like to walk around the countryside, and on almost every hill in Cork, there's what they call fairy forts. They used to be called ring forts.
Right.
But even now, for instance, when they're building and constructing things, people won't buy land that has a ferry fort on it, for instance. Or the road construction crews will actually reroute a road around a ferry fort, not to go in through them.
That's right.
So there's lots of mythology and lots of stories about these. And these ring forts were built before Christ, 300 to 600 years before Christ. And that's just amazing to see all this infrastructure that was here and still there. Then you can go and walk around them as you please right now.
I know, so much older than the castles. You think the castles are old, but they're not anything compared to a ring fort. Now, what about any changes in food when you went from one country to the other?
The food's much better.
What do they give you?
Well, I fell in love with this special treat that they do. It's called turkey and ham.
Turkey and ham.
Basically, a nice layer of fresh ham, and it's not fat. The meat there, for instance, the corned beef and the ham and the bacon are virtually fat-free. They don't have this fat stuff on it like the United States. So it'd be a layer of ham, a little stuffing, and turkey laid over the top and it's just wonderful.
And is their name? Would they just turkey and ham?
Turkey and ham.
I know. Molly went over there about 10 or 15 years ago, and she found eggs mayonnaise was just a special little kind of salad that varied throughout the country when you were traveling. She just liked it. She says, well, now this is a nice little dish. Mm-hmm. So you never know what little thing you might find that makes a difference. But I will tell you this, that sausage had some fat on it when I stay at the B&B's.
Well, the funny part about B&B's that I'm always amused. The tourists always they're offered this full Irish breakfast with black and white pudding, which is basically blood sausage.
I know. They had fun with me the first time I was over there. I said, this pudding. I go, I didn't like it much, but I was trying to be nice. And they said, would you have some more, Michael? And they were pulling my leg. And I go, well, maybe in a little bit. And I kept saying, now, what is it? And they told me.
You know that yourself.
Yeah, blood pudding. Oh, my gosh. They've been having me for a joke.
Well, they always call it the full Irish breakfast, but almost no Irishman that I know of ever
eats that way. That's right. That's right. It's an American breakfast.
It's very much an American breakfast. It's more aimed. It's kind of tipped in the direction of the way the English would have done it, probably. So it's more like an English breakfast.
Yeah.
But most Irish would eat cereals and grains and porridge as opposed to oatmeal, which they're almost exactly the same.
Do you see much of a difference in, like sense of humor or use of language?
Well, you can't find an Irishman that's not talking to you. They're notorious talkers. Yes,
I've heard that those Cork people are special people.
Well, you can go into any pub and we've actually gone to pubs, and when they've heard my American accent, there's always someone up there who's going to tell me a story about something.
Yeah.
And or tell me something about the Americans, for instance, and why we were called the Yanks, for instance.
Yeah.
An Irishman had to go through an entire explanation of why we were called Yanks.
Did you have a pint of Guinness over that?
Oh, well, he was drinking Guinness. I was drinking my favorite, which is Smithwick's.
Yeah, I noticed that most of the veterans are switching to Smithwick's sometimes. I don't know why that is.
Well, Smithwick's actually predates Guinness, and it's a much older beer, and it's done out of Kilkenny. It's where its roots were, from 1711.
Right.
So, a very old style of brew. It's basically an ale, not you have to know your beers in Ireland. So there's ales, there's lagers, and there's stouts. And so Guinness, for instance, that most people see is a stout, and it's considerably different than an ale or a lager. Lager is like your Budweiser.
And they just came out with a low alcohol Guinness?
Yeah.
Went from 7 to 3.9 or something like that.
Oh, yeah. Well, the stouts are less popular outside of Ireland than in Ireland, for instance.
Right.
And so what they're trying to do is they're trying to diversify and find other things that they can market, for instance. There's only one place, for instance, in Topeka we can even find Smithwick's, for instance, a little Irish-like pub. But you can find Guinness just about anywhere. Now, the Guinness that you get out of a can or a bottle here is not nearly as good as one poured straight from a properly done.
Oh, it's a whole different thing. Isn't there a little thing that explodes in there when you open a can up? You get a can of it. Yeah, it's a different deal.
It's not. You need to find a good Irish pub to get a good Irish pint.
Well, and they got to wait for the head to form on there just right. If it doesn't take a few minutes to do that, if you don't have to wait in anticipation, it takes away from the experience.
It's a two-stage process.
That's exactly right.
In defense of Cork, there's better brews than Guinness. And there's Murphy's and there's Beamish.
Right.
And at any pub in Cork, you can get an argument over which one's better.
I bet. Who do the majority of the people go with?
I don't know. Which one do they go at? Beamish, probably.
Beamish. Yeah, I heard that. There was a little help on that decision.
Yeah.
Well, now, any other big differences you found between living in America and living in Ireland?
Well, right now, I'm not going to sound too political here, but you seem to get a much easier going attitude, less panicky, less fear, I suppose, over terrorist type issues. For instance, I know that 9/11 caused quite a fear instilled in the American people, but there's not quite that kind of fear in Ireland. It's become very international now, with the Eastern European blocs joining up. So it's quite often you'll walk down any street in Ireland, for instance, and not hear a lot of English anymore.
Right.
Which we find kind of interesting. But they're very entrepreneurial people. And it's changing the nature of Ireland quite a bit well. But you feel completely safe in an Irish town. And you almost never see a policeman or guard, in this case, a Garda. But you always feel like they're watching you over.
Yeah.
So there's no fear of walking the streets at night. Not really. Maybe downtown Dublin, maybe, but that's just big city issues. But in Cork, you could be safe any night of every week, and know that you'll be safe.
Well, that's nice. It's a rare thing too.
Yeah.
I know Dublin gets a little rough sometimes, but it's
there's an awful lot of drinking culture going on.
It's a gigantic European city. It's like a megapolis, just like New York and Dublin and Paris, and it's a whole different thing.
Interesting that Dublin, for instance, was once considered to be the second capital of the British Empire, and outside of London, it was the biggest town in the English Empire.
Well, that's right. Do you have any advice for anybody who's just thinking about maybe getting married to somebody in Ireland and they're in America? Would there just be one tip that you might give them?
Well, you can get the Irish girl out of Ireland for a while, but you're never going to get the Ireland out of the girl.
That's right. She might be saying the same thing about you.
Yeah, pretty much.
Okay, well, I'd like to thank you all for coming in today. It's been great. Glad to see you here at the cafe. Glad we made contact on the internet, or you knew had never been able to stop by and find this little place. Yeah. They're making up some food for you in the back room. I had them put on a couple of steaks and a couple of salads. I didn't know which way you'd go. So should I tell them to finish the steak or the salad? Or both. You're a Kansas man.
I'm a beef man. Yeah. For the barbecue.
That's it. Well, I'd like to thank you both for being here today, and we'll sure keep in contact over time.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you very much.
Our thanks to Mr. Jordan and his fine wife and genealogist Margaret. We appreciate the time they spent together while they were back here in old America. Now, curious news and notes. I haven't had any time this week to dig this up. There's always a lot going on, but don't forget my Backdoor Irish page. You go to my webpage at irishroots.com and get in there and go past that first page, and you'll see Quick and Easy as a link on the left-hand side at the bottom. Click on that, and you'll find that Backdoor Irish page, and it's a quick and easy introduction to all my things. You might want to check it out. Got the link on the webpage and on my show notes on our blog. The Kansas City Library has a fine setup these days, and they have a copy of my Missouri Irish book on hand for reference, and I'm sure they got one of Kansas City Irish by Pat O'Neill, too. Those are two great books. And my book's also on hand at Sheehan's Irish Imports and at the Kansas City store. So take a look and see some of the history of the Irish in America from the earliest times to today. Just about time for one last note. The Irish language classes that I've been taking have wrapped up, and I've just finished up with them. We had a little meeting after class at the pub down on the plaza. That was fine. But remember, there's more classes coming up, so if you miss this set, you can sign up for the next one. Be sure not to miss it. There's lots of history and culture included in that course. Well, this is Michael O'Loughlin at the Irish Roots Cafe. Reach me anytime at irishroots.com, where you can find all of our books and podcasts, including our Irish Families Worldwide podcast. And be sure to check the show notes for this episode on our webpage. Write us at the Irish Roots Cafe, Box 7575, Kansas City, Missouri 64116. Leave your message, report, or anything you'd like to leave on my phone recorder at 816-256-3360, or Skype me at Mick the Bridge. Oh, can you hear that whistle blowing down by the riverfront, folks? That's all. Until next time, we meet here, right where Ireland met Kansas City, at the Irish Roots Cafe.